Welcome, welcome, welcome. Transition from a dead-end job to a purposeful, thriving career. I'm Samya, founder of Unwind the Grind and your career change coach with, is it 14 now? 14 years of leadership, coaching, and marketing expertise globally, helping you navigate all things careers. Find your why, discover your career purpose, brand and sell yourself, craft your story, pitch, resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn. Land the right job. Network online like a pro. Ace job interviews. So buckle up, get back in the driving seat, and make things happen. Interview season is in full swing this summer, and I know what you're thinking. Your responses need a major makeover, particularly the ones related to behavioral skills. If you're tired of going blank when asked behavioral questions in interviews, not knowing how to articulate your thoughts, even though in your heart you know you're perfectly capable of answering, then continue watching. Because I'm going to let you in on one of my most powerful, tried and tested frameworks on how to slay those behavioral questions. Get ready to take notes because this video is going to be packed with information to help you succeed in your next interview. Now, if you have an interview coming up, there's a pretty high chance you will be asked behavioral questions. But what are they all about? Companies use behavioral questions to assess your fit with their values, principles, and behaviors. For instance, if they value integrity, customer service, agility, or being a go-getter, their behavioral questions will call upon these skills and you are expected to demonstrate you have it. Let's look at how some of these questions sound like. Most of them start with, tell me about a time. So tell me about a time when you had to bring a team together to achieve common goals. This one calls on teamwork and leadership. What is your biggest failure at work? How did you recover from it? This calls on your ability to learn, improve, and grow. Or tell me about a time where you had to deal with a challenge you didn't have the knowledge or resources at the time. Agility, innovation, and resourcefulness. How do you handle criticism? This one calls on attitude towards growth. When you had a difficult problem to solve, how did you go about it? This is definitely on problem solving, collaboration, and ideation. Behavioral skills can hold you back even if you have all the required technical skills, because at the end of the day, what matters is how you'll be able to lead, problem solve, achieve in an ever-changing world, working with all kinds of people collaboratively. Besides, the hiring manager would have gone through your CV and has an idea of how technically capable you are. Especially for senior roles, performance is the least common denominator. What does that mean? You need it to succeed, but on its own, it's not enough unless you have the right personality, attitude, and behavior. Behavioral questions are challenging because they force you to think on the fly. And it's hard not to get distracted in your response if you don't already have a good mechanism of going about it. And this is exactly what we're going to get into in this video. But don't let this get to your nerves. Preparation is key in ensuring you have your best 6 to 7 examples ready to churn out and tweak as needed for the required behavioral question. And while you're at it, do check out my video on interview mindset hacks to keep that anxiety in check and pump yourself with all the positive vibes and confidence you need right before the interview. For now, let's talk about how to tackle behavioral questions. First things first, you need to know that preparing for these questions doesn't have to be based completely on guesswork. While it's true that the interviewer can focus on virtually anything under the sun, there's a much higher chance that they will focus on skills directly related to the role you are applying for. For example, if you're applying for a manager level position, they might focus on your leadership skills. But if you're applying for an entry level position, you might be questioned about your ability to handle criticism or learn from failure. Job description is your best friend when you're preparing for these questions. Analyzing it closely should tell you about what skills the company is looking for in a candidate. You might have to research what skills are more relevant to certain positions, or they might even be straight up written in the JD. For example, let's take a look at the standard job description for an operations supervisor. The job brief is that we are looking for an experienced operations supervisor to help us implement the right processes across the company and enable business growth. You'll assess our department's operational methods and propose ways to improve them. Project management and effective communication are important operations supervisor skills. To succeed in this role, you should also be a good problem solver with sharp analytical thinking. If you are result-oriented and have excellent organizational skills, we'd like to meet you. As you can see, the company has specified exactly what behavioral skills they are looking for: effective communication, problem solving, analytical thinking, organization skills, and being result-oriented. So paying attention to what's written in the JD is basically the first step in telling you what questions you're probably going to face, giving you a chance to work on them beforehand. Once you've jotted down behavioral skills from the JD, take it a step further by looking into the company's values, principles, and culture. You can always start with the About section on the company's website and even connect with current or ex-employees to get a more in-depth understanding. Once you've got this groundwork done, think about scenarios where these skills might be applied and look for examples where you have demonstrated them from your prior experience. Examples is what they are looking for, my friend. Dig up your best, most powerful, solid work examples to include in your answer, because they add a lot more weight and credibility than just talking about what you would do hypothetically. An important aspect to keep in mind is not to use very personal examples. Focus on examples from past work experience, or if you're a fresh graduate, then society, club, or volunteering experience. Without further ado, let's get into my awesome framework that keeps things structured, concise, and compelling. It is called CARL, which stands for Context, Action, Result, and Learning. Context is where you briefly describe the context of your example in a challenging way. Action is where you explain what specific actions you took and how you went on resolving this challenge. And result is where you explain the impact of these actions on the business. What results did you achieve? Learning is where you wrap it all up by identifying what you have learned from the experience and how it ties into the company's requirement. It just checks all the boxes. It's simple, effective, comprehensive, and action-oriented. Let me show you exactly how this works with an example. So tell me about a time you had a disagreement with a coworker and how you resolved the issue. Context: I was working as a project manager on X project and one team member was constantly late finishing tasks. When I approached him about it, he got a bit defensive. Action: I kept calm and assured him that I understand why this might be happening as the deadlines were challenging, and asked how I could help in improving his performance. Result: he opened up and told me that another project he was working on had tasks that were not in his job description, increasing his workload and making it all unmanageable. I suggested that he should arrange a meeting with the other project manager and reassess scope and timelines. He did, and they came to a resolution that lessened his workload. He was able to focus on our project and delivered great work. My learning was that this experience re-established the importance of empathy. I realized how important it is just to listen to the other person and genuinely help them for any team to work. Can you see how crisp and impressive that answer sounds? Giving the interviewer everything they need to hear in a brief yet comprehensive way. This is why I just love this method of reflecting even outside an interview. It's a highly effective manner of conveying your point. Let's get into another example to make sure you have a good idea of how to implement this in different scenarios. A common question usually asked in interviews is, tell me how you solved a complex problem that led to a successful outcome. Here the context is, I was tasked to keep employee morale and engagement high during the pandemic within our business unit of 30 people, as we were all working remotely and dealing with a lot of uncertainty. Action. I individually spoke to every person to diagnose their needs, priorities, and came up with an engagement strategy that works for everyone. Upon talking to people, the big insights that were revealed were that people were feeling disconnected and working in silos. There were communication gaps because of ineffective meetings that were frequent, not leaving enough time for people to work on their own tasks. I formed a smaller group of 4 people who led the exercise of communication effectiveness and meeting makeovers for each function within our business unit. Result? We cut down the number of meetings by 30% by clarifying the purpose of every meeting with specific actionable agenda items, right owners, stakeholders, and next steps. We deployed a communication strategy for remote working covering meetings and email management, and also carved out engagement huddles between key team members just to catch up socially, have some fun, games, icebreakers, and celebrate small wins. This resulted in high team morale reflected in a quarterly ENPS of 20. Learning. I learned how important it is to hear everyone's opinion and that people might be facing issues you're completely oblivious to. I also saw firsthand the power of collective action when it's towards something everyone wholeheartedly believes in and wants to improve. The entire process led to not only higher engagement, but fostered collaboration and empathy amongst our team. There you have it, all the tools you need to take your next interview head on, acing all behavioral questions with powerful, comprehensive, and diverse examples. If you're still confused as to which career examples to pick for specific behaviors, how to highlight your skills and achievements, or further taking a step back and defining what really your offering is, sign up for a complimentary consultation at the link in the description below and let me help you define your next career move. Comment below and let me know how you've handled these questions before, what worked when you did really well.